Hey, what's going on everyone? Jay Kwan here, and welcome back. So today we got an Amethyst Steel versus Blurple. Amethyst Sapphire. It is going to be a traditional meta match this time around, and we're not actually going to be in this game here, so we are going to be able to commentate without knowing too much of what's going to happen in this game. Now this match is going to be part of the quarterfinals here from the Vancouver BC community tournament that we hosted here locally, and had about, I believe, around 30 individuals playing in the tournament at the time. So a really nice tournament right before the Fabled set champs, and it was definitely a really awesome practice. So really happy to see everyone just duking it out there and showing what types of spicy brews that they had. But let's get right into it here. So the Amethyst Steel player will be on the play, and they are going to start it off with a Captain Hook, passing it over to the Blurple player, who will be playing out a Rafiki on turn 1, which is a very good counter to the Captain Hook to ensure that the Captain Hook doesn't go off questing. Rafiki is also going to be a character that can take out the Calhoun, and can take out Rajas and just any other characters there while the Blurple player slowly starts to ramp and set up, right? So Rafiki is going to ensure that the opponent can just stop questing, right, for a little bit. And what this will do is allow the Blurple player to just ramp and do what they need to do to be able to stabilize the game states while ensuring the Amethyst Steel player doesn't run away with too much lore. So the opponent does play out the Calhoun. It is going to be the standard Amethyst Steel play, especially in this matchup here. It is going to be prioritized over Raja just because the Amethyst Steel decks will also have cards like Hypnotic Strength to be able to take out the illusions that some Amethyst Steel decks play. So the Blurple player will have their turn 2 ramp in the form of Tipo. Now, a lot of times when it comes to running blue decks, and especially Blurple, you never want to miss that turn 2 ramp. So a lot of times what will happen is that if you don't find your turn 2 ramp in the terms of Tipo or Assail the Azurite Sea, you want to do a full 7 mulligan to ensure that you can get these cards in your hand as much as possible, right? Now, in my Blurple deck, I am running a spicy tech in the form of Pleakley, just because Pleakley will be able to help out with ramping one of your 1-drops if you do happen to miss your turn 2 ramp, right? So that's one of the spicy cards that I'm personally playing in my Blurple deck. But the Amethyst Steel player will play out the Genie Dragon. Genie Dragon is a very good counter right now, especially going on the play, because it will make sure that the Blurple player is forced to ink any Dumbles and play out Genies, as you can see here, because Genie Dragon will be able to take out the Dumbo in one shot. This also means that in this matchup here, you don't want to be forcing out the Iagos too early, because Amethyst Steel will have cards like Fire the Cannons, Hypnotic Strength, you got Strength of a Raging Fire, right? So there's going to be a lot of cards that Amethyst Steel can play to take out a lot of Blurple's illusion characters. And this is also really good as well to have the Genie against the Amethyst Steel player, because they aren't going to be ramping like the Sapphire decks. So they are going to be sending out their Elsas 1 turn later than you would usually expect it to, meaning that cards like Genie will automatically be safe for a little bit, right? So Genie is going to be the best option here. Unfortunately, it is a little weaker, so it is going to not be able to stop too much of the Amethyst Steel threats that are more on the aggro side of things, but that's why you play cards like Hypnotic Strength, right? Giving some of your other characters 2 additional strength to be able to challenge into stuff. So the Amethyst Steel player will play the Metamim on the Broomstick, and what this card does is that it will give Metamim and the other characters that you control Challenger +1. This makes it so your Genie Dragon will be able to take out opposing Genies in one go. Now the opponent does, play Fire the Cannons nonetheless by singing it with Genie Dragon, and it will be able to take out the Genie on the Blurple player side in one shot here. Now, another thing to note, I do apologize for the glare on the Amethyst Steel side, just due to the fact of where the top tables are being played. Unfortunately, it is right underneath the light, so that's why we do have quite bad glare right now. But nonetheless, we still have cards flying in. we still got myself to be able to let you know what cards they are, so no worries on that. Alright, so the opponent plays out an Elsa, being able to exert one character, so they are going to choose the Captain Hook, and the Elsa is most likely going to trade into the Captain Hook. Nope, looks like the opponent... Oh, okay, so the opponent uses the Rafikian T-Bow to take out the Genie Dragon, because keep in mind the Genie Dragon only gets evasive on your turn, right? So that means on the opposite turn, the Genie Dragon is free to be challenged into by non-evasive characters. Opponent plays the Calhoun here, the Amethyst Steel player, and looks like he is going to quest with the Diablo and the Calhoun, and passes turn here. Now a lot of times once we see an Elsa being dropped on turn 4 here, on the following turn usually the opponent follows up with maybe like a Bell, right? Is usually what we see to be able to remove that damage from the previous Elsa onto the opposing character to hopefully be able to take it out. So that's usually the curve that we see. But in this case here, we do find the Genie and then a Hypnotic Strength being played as well to buff the Elsa, giving it 2 additional strength, being able to take out the Calhoun. And because the Elsa only challenged into the Captain Hook last turn, it will survive with 1 more willpower. Okay, so the opponent plays a Genie, draws a card. I need to stop saying opponent right now in this matchup just because I'm not actually playing this game. I'm so used to that. Okay, so the Amethyst Steel player unfortunately doesn't seem to have Dock in hand right now. So they just quest out and pass it over to the Blurple player. Now the Blurple player is going into the 7 ink turn. This means that we could possibly see cards like Hades being dropped at any point in time, especially because Hades is going to be a very good card against the Amethyst Steel player's evasive threats. And there we have it. So Hades does get dropped here, taking out the Genie and inking it for the Amethyst Steel player. Blurple player is going to quest for 3, taking up to 3 lore against the Amethyst Steel player's 5 lore. And it looks like the Amethyst Steel player isn't going to have too much in terms of card draw, so they are running out of gas very, very quickly. They need that Dumbo, they need that Yzma, they need the Docks to be able to survive, especially against a decks, such as Blurple. So they end up playing the Palace Guard and the Captain Hook. So Palace Guard, keep in mind, is also an illusion. It's a 1/4 illusion, so it can be taken out by actions that target it. But it looks like the Blurple player is in total control right now. They do play out the Elsa. Elsa is going to exert their other Calhoun, and the Hades is just going to be able to take it out in one go. And looks like they are caught up with the lore now from questing with the Genie and the Elsa. Okay, so the opponent finally, or the Amethyst Steel player finally gets the Dumbo. The Dumbo is going to be played, but there isn't going to be other evasive characters that the Dumbo can use its ability with. So the opponent or the Blurple player will have 1 whole turn to be able to take it out with cards like Belle, another Elsa, Hades, right? So there's just so many ways. You can even have the new card that Blurple players play, which is the Ursula 5-drop. I think it's called the Voice Stealer, where you can exert an opposing character and then play a song for free for the cost of that character that you exerted or less. But it looks like the Blurple player will have a lot of evasive threats right now by having 2 Genies and 2 Elsas on board. Eventually the Amethyst Steel player is going to run out of evasive characters, and those Genies are going to start questing for a whole ton. So right now the Amethyst Steel player is on an uphill battle. They must be able to get a Dock maybe a Yzma, or maybe a Finder's Keepers if they play it with that Dumble card draw. So let's see how lucky they can get here. Interesting. So the Amethyst Steel player hits in for the Genie. Does that mean that they're gonna play a Bell? No, looks like they actually just top decked the Diablo. Interesting. Keep in mind that the Blurple player could run away with the game by having 2 Genies on board, because that's just going to quest for 4 every single turn. They're already at 9. So taking out that Genie there with the Dumble might have been the best play. But the other thing is that Dumble could have used its own ability to draw an additional card, which could end up being a dock, right? And then start to snowball from there and maybe stabilize the game. But the opponent, the Blurple player here, has the Monstro. Monstro is going to be able to take out every single non-evasive character right now. All he has to do is challenge in, discard a card, and ready the Monstro using its ability. And you don't have to pay any ink for this. So the Monstro, as long as you have cards in your hand, can be used as a pseudo board wipe. Okay, so the opponent, the Amethyst Steel player, quests to 12. So right now they're tied, but I really don't think the Amethyst Steel player will have enough lore to be able to get up to 20. And on top of that, the Blurple player has 6 lore on board right now, so that takes them to 18. And he plays a second Monstro. Okay. And he just turns everything sideways? Probably does. Yep, takes him to 19 or 18. And the Steel player draws a card and scoops it up. Alright. So we're just going to get right into it here. We're going to head right into game 2. Amethyst Steel is going to be able to go first. They started off with the Diablo, and then the Blurple player is going to start off with a Rafiki again. So this Rafiki will ensure that Diablo is not going to be able to quest. However, the Diablo is able to replace itself, so it's not always a bad thing to turn it sideways. But a lot of times you probably want to have another character like Calhoun or Captain Hook to be able to take out that Rafiki after that Rafiki challenges into the Diablo. So Tipo gets inked, and then we're going to play Sail the Azurite Sea, drawing the card and inking an additional card here, passing it over to the Amethyst Steel player. So on turn 3, we could see a Cobra coming down. We could also see another Genie Dragon come down as well. And it's not unheard of that they could also spam the board with a 1-drop and a 2-drop on turn 3, just because that Rafiki can only challenge into so many characters before it gets taken out the following turn. So going for a more aggro approach might be the way here. And you definitely want to go the aggro route, especially if the Blurple player misses the turn 2 ramp. Okay, so we do see the Genie again, so a very similar play line like last game. So the Blurple player inks the Donald Flatfoot. Interesting. So that can be used as a turn 5 ramp. And then he plays the Dumble. So Dumble could potentially be challenged in, but it looks like it gets banished using the strength of a Raging Fire by singing it with Genie again. So right now, the Amethyst Steel player is in total control of this game at the moment. However, that Genie Dragon is no longer evasive, so that Rafiki does have the option to challenge in, but still won't be enough strength to be able to take out that Genie. the opponent goes for the ramp instead, using Donald Duck, ramping or inking the top of their deck face down exerted. And this way, next turn, they can hopefully drop a Hades and start controlling the board again. Okay, so looks like we're finally gonna ink a card here on the Amethyst Steel side. Playing Fire the Cannons, taking out the Rafiki in one go, and playing out another Genie Dragon. So we are going wide, but it does look like there isn't any more cards in the Amethyst Steel player's hand. So this means that they absolutely need to rely on the Diablo to be able to draw that additional card, hopefully going into the dock or another Dumbo, because we do have two genies and two genie dragons and another genie on the board, which is all evasive for Dumbo to be able to exert and draw a card. So that would probably be ideal. The other option is to draw into more 4-drop genies, or even drawing into Yzma. Yzma is also another really good card where you can exert her to draw up to 3 cards from your deck. Okay, so Donald Duck is going to go into the Genie Dragon, not taking it out in one go, but the Bell Accomplished Mystic is going to come down, removing the 3 damage from the Donald Duck onto the Calhoun, being able to take it out, getting over the resist, by the way, because moving damage around will not have any effect on resist characters, so it will take out Calhoun in one go. Then the Blurple player plays off a Develop, looking at the top 2 cards of their deck and adding one to their hand, and the rest going to the bottom of the deck. And we do see a Madam Mim being played, so this means that all characters do currently have +1 challenger. But will this be enough to stabilize the board? Because keep in mind that the Blurple player will have a lot more stats in their characters later in the game compared to the Amethyst Steel deck. The Amethyst Steel deck's main benefit going against Blurple is that they're able to go much wider, much quicker, just due to the fact that Blurple would not have too much in the form of board wipes aside from Monstro, which we won't see just yet. There's still going to be about 1 or 2 turns before we can see Monstro coming down. And as long as the Amethyst Steel player can keep a good, healthy amount of evasive characters on the board, especially in those genies, because they are going to be able to quest for 2, the Amethyst Steel player may be able to take away game 2 by being that aggressive. So let's just see if they have enough gas to get that far. Okay, so Blurple will play out the Elsa, exerting the Genie, taking it out with the Elsa here since it does have Rush. Genie is going to be able to take out Elsa just from Mim's ability, giving Genie that additional 1 strength when challenging. So it does have 3 strength, enough to be able to take out the Elsa there. So keep that in mind. And then Genie Dragon is going to take out the Donald Duck. Diablo is going to quest, taking the Amethyst Steel player to 10, and then they're going to drop another Palace Guard here, which isn't going to be that helpful right now because it's a 1-drop. It's probably the worst thing that you could possibly see in this case, because while you're controlling the Blurple player's board, you want to keep up the pressure by being able to snowball into your draw cards. Okay, so Scrooge McDuck does get played, and then Into the Unknown will also get played, inking that Genie into the opponent's inkwell. And Genie was definitely a threat because the Blurple player currently does not have any evasive characters to challenge into that Genie. So Bell's going to take out the Genie Dragon. Bell is going to have 3 damage onto it, so he has to be able to take out the Bell right now, otherwise he risks having another Bell accomplish mistake coming down and moving those 3 damage characters, or 3 damage, over to another character here. So the Palace Guard will take out the Bell, and he will quest and pass turn from here. So do we see maybe a Hades coming down to seal the Amethyst Steel player's fate? Oh, we see an Elsa. Spirit of Winter, one of my favorite cards from the first chapter. When it comes down, you can exert 2 opposing characters and they do not ready on the opponent's turn. So this is a very, very good way for Blurple to slowly catch up and build up their board presence again while slowing down the aggro advancing. But the Amethyst Steel player is only at 12 lore right now, so they are still a little bit away from winning this game. So now he has to deal with the Elsa having a 4/6 body, and then a Scrooge McDuck having a 5/5 body. Yeah, because as of right now, any one of the Blurple characters is able to trade into all of the characters that the Amethyst Steel player currently has right now on their board. Not to mention, the Amethyst Steel player only has about 5 ink. So they are going to be a little bit limited in options right now. So the Blurple player plays another Into the Unknown. Scrooge is going to be able to take out the Palace Guard. And Elsa's just going to quest for 3. In this case here, questing with Elsa for 3 is going to be much better than challenging into that Diablo. That Diablo could potentially draw the opponent into docks. And they're not going to win the following turn anyways. So questing with Elsa was the best and most optimal play here. He plays another Into the Unknown. So that's 3 Into the Unknown that the Blurple player uses. And then now he's back up to 14 toe-to-toe with the Amethyst Steel player's lore here. Now, will this Dumble be able to have the Amethyst Steel player come back? Another Madam Mim gets played, so really not the type of card you want to see in this case here. So really unlucky draws right now for the Amethyst Steel player, because we haven't seen any docks on both games right now. Yeah, so Strength gets played, and then the Dumble has to be the one that challenges into the Elsa, taking it out. Opponent plays the Genie. And he quests for 2, taking him to 16, so he does currently have lethal on board right now. And looks like Amethyst Steel player plays the Genie. And looks like he concedes. Alright, so there you have it. Blurple takes it away with the 2-0. They are favored in this matchup here, but that's going to be a meta game for you guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Please stay tuned until the next one. We'll catch you guys next time.